Usually the morning school run is, well, it's basically just an exercise in survival.
Oh, absolutely. Pure chaos.
Right. I mean, you're grabbing keys, you're hustling kids out the door, and you're just praying nobody spills juice on the upholstery.
Yeah, you just want to get from point A to point B without a meltdown.
Exactly. But what if that chaotic commute took place in a vehicle that was engineered solely for the Prime Minister of Japan?
I mean, that is quite the
It
image.
really is. So today on the deep dive, we are exploring this incredibly heartwarming and honestly slightly unbelievable intersection of elite automotive mastery, family values, and personal faith.
Yeah, and we're pulling all of this from a single, deeply personal testimony and blog post. It was written on December 15th, 2025, by a man named Joseph Bay.
And it's such a great story.
It really is. He essentially managed to take this masterpiece of Japanese engineering, which is a car traditionally reserved for royalty, by the way, and he turned it into a vessel for divine timing and a father's love during a rainy UK school run.
The contrast there is just incredibly rich. I mean, we are talking about a car that literally sits above even the Lexus in the Toyota hierarchy.
Right, which is saying something.
Definitely. And it all involves this deeply specific prayer and a morning commute that rivals the luxury of world leaders. But, to really grasp the weight of Joseph's story, we have to understand the physical object at the center of it.
The car itself.
Yeah. And Joseph admits right at the top of this post, he says, I'm not really a car guy. But he has one very specific exception, which is the Toyota Century.
Yeah, and calling it just a Toyota almost misrepresents what the vehicle actually is.
Oh, totally.
Like, it was introduced back in 1967, and the Century is this imperial, prime ministerial level sedan. It is manufactured exclusively in Japan.
And outside of Japan, it's practically a ghost, right?
Exactly. Most people have never even heard of it, let alone seen one on the road.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you look at it from the outside, it really just looks like an ordinary, maybe slightly retro black sedan.
Yeah, it doesn't scream luxury.
No, not at all. It doesn't have racing stripes. It doesn't look like a spaceship. It is the ultimate stealth wealth phenomenon.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like wearing a bespoke suit that is perfectly tailored and lined with pure spun silk, but only the person wearing it actually knows about the silk.
Right, because the entire philosophy behind the Century is understated, quiet luxury.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't trying to impress the person in the next lane. It is entirely focused on the internal experience of the people sitting inside the cabin.
But see, that stealth wealth exterior is actually hiding something almost contradictory under the hood.
Oh, the engine.
Yeah. Joseph notes that this unassuming sedan houses a massive 5,000cc V12 engine.
Which is wild.
It is. It's the only production V12 engine to ever come out of Japan. And this is where I have to push back a little on the design logic.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, why would an automaker go to the trouble of building a massive V12 engine, which is something you usually see in like a Ferrari or an Aston Martin, just to hide it in a plain black wrapper?
Right, you'd think it's for racing.
Yeah, I assume it's... So this heavy car can do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and act like a total sleeper car on the highway.
And that is exactly what a Western car enthusiast would assume. But the reality is the exact opposite.
Wait, really?
Yeah. What's fascinating here is the Japanese engineering philosophy of understated excellence. Because in Western car culture, a V12 engine is almost always about aggression.
True, it's all about showing off.
Exactly. It's about speed, roaring exhausts, and letting everyone in a 3-mile radius know exactly how much power you have.
Right.
But in the Toyota Century, the V12 isn't there for speed at all. It is there for perfect balanced rotation.
Okay, wait, what does balanced rotation actually mean for the driver? Like, practically?
So think about the physics of a typical 4-cylinder or even a V8 engine.
Okay.
As the pistons pump up and down, they create inherent vibrations. The engine block physically shakes.
Right, you can feel it idling.
Exactly. But a V12 has 6 cylinders on each side, and they fire in such a rapid overlapping succession that the physical forces completely cancel each other out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it runs so flawlessly smooth that there's actually a famous trick where you can balance a coin on its edge on top of the engine block while it's running.
And it won't fall over.
It won't fall over. Toyota poured all this engineering into eliminating NVH, which stands for noise, vibration, and harshness.
NVH. Okay, that is the enemy of the luxury car.
Absolutely.
I mean, noise is obvious and vibration is the shaking of the engine, like you said. But harshness, that's feeling the literal cracks in the road through your steering wheel or your seat, right?
Exactly that.
Mhm.
The engineers wanted to isolate the cabin completely from the mechanical violence happening under the hood and the physical violence of the road surface.
So it's basically a sensory deprivation tank on wheels.
Pretty much. So that 5,000 cc power is there purely to create silence. The engine doesn't have to strain to move the heavy car, it just glides.
That makes so much sense.
And because they prioritize reliability over, pushing the engine to its absolute limits, these second-generation models, the ones built between 1997 and 2017, are rumored to easily reach 1 million miles if they're well-maintained.
1 million miles.
Yeah.
That is driving to the moon and back twice without the engine quitting.
It's unbelievable engineering.
It is. And because of that legendary status, Joseph mentions there is actually a growing enthusiast scene in the UK.
Oh yeah, the Owners Club.
Right. There are about 50 of these cars directly imported into the country, complete with their own little club. So Joseph is watching practically every YouTube video about its incredibly silent V12, but actually owning one just remained a dream.
Well, until August.
Right, the move.
Yeah, Joseph's family was looking to move to a new house that was much farther away. And that geographic shift meant they suddenly needed a second car for their daily life.
And like anyone in that situation, he starts looking at the practical options. You want a second commuter car, so you look at used electric vehicles.
Sure, the responsible choice.
But the market is brutal. Every decent EV he finds is easily running 20 to 30,000 pounds.
That's a huge hit.
It is. He's staring down a massive expense right as he is trying to buy a house.
But then, completely by chance, while he is browsing, he spots it.
The Century?
Yeah, a 2008 Toyota Century. And it isn't the standard black, it's royal blue metallic.
Oh, nice.
And the price is 13,000 pounds. He says his heart instantly started pounding.
I bet.
And this is where he does something that completely shifts the narrative away from a standard, practical car buying experience.
What does he do?
He immediately prays.
And his prayer is incredibly specific. He says, Father, I really want this car. If it's your will for me to buy it, please keep it from being sold until the day we finish moving into our new house.
Which is a bold prayer.
Very. And the timeline here is crucial. When he prays this in August, absolutely nothing about the house move is set.
Nothing at all.
They don't have a moving date. They don't have an exchange date. It could take weeks, or it could literally take 6 months.
He is asking for a rare, highly desirable enthusiast car, priced incredibly well at 13,000 pounds, to just sit on the open market, untouched, for an indeterminate amount of time.
Right. And I have to stop you there because we need to look at this from a strictly logical standpoint for a second.
Okay, let's hear it.
Buying a 17-year-old imported Japanese V12 luxury car when you have 3 kids, a wife, and a new mortgage. I mean, isn't this just a theological rationalization for a midlife crisis purchase?
It definitely sounds like it on paper.
Right. Think about the spreadsheet-level nightmare of this. If that rare car breaks down in the UK, you can't just take it to the local mechanic down the street.
No, definitely not.
Every single part has to be shipped from Tokyo. Customs, tariffs, weeks of waiting. And he needs this to be a reliable daily driver. How does he justify this to himself?
Well, he wrestles with that exact practicality. I mean, he isn't blind to the spreadsheet.
Okay, so he's aware of the risk.
Very aware. He notes that the car's massive size and tank-like build make safety a huge plus for his family, and he calculates that he can financially handle the risk of minor maintenance issues.
Got it. So the baseline of adult responsibility is there.
It is. But to answer your question about rationalization, he leans on a quote that really defines his whole approach to life, which is, "Reasonableness is the thief of joy."
Wow. Reasonableness is the thief of joy. That hits hard.
It really does. He connects it to a biblical concept from Judges 14.4, exploring the idea that God sometimes plants specific, seemingly illogical desires in our hearts to bring about a greater purpose.
That's a fascinating way to look at it.
Yeah, Joseph is acknowledging that if we only ever make decisions based on what is 100% reasonable or mathematically safe or predictable, we successfully insulate ourselves from risk.
But at a cost.
Exactly. In doing so, we completely lock ourselves out of extraordinary joy.
Think about that for a second. For you listening right now, when was the last time you talked yourself out of something you deeply wanted? Something that would have brought you immense joy just because the spreadsheet said no?
We all do it.
We do. And did playing it safe actually make you happier, or did it just make you feel secure in your routine? Joseph decides he isn't going to let the spreadsheet steal his joy.
He's making room for something bigger.
Yeah, he isn't being reckless, but he is actively allowing room for wonder.
And this isn't a new concept for him either. He actually has a precedent for this exact type of faith.
Oh, the bike story.
Right. He flashes back in his post to his days as a student in Cambridge. He desperately needed a bicycle to get around campus.
As you do in Cambridge.
Right. But instead of just going to a local shop and buying whatever used frame was cheapest, he engaged in this astonishing level of spiritual specificity.
He goes to early morning prayer at dawn, and he writes down the exact specifications of the bike he wants, like the make, the model, the color, and the exact price he wants to pay, which is 35 pounds.
And then that very afternoon, he walks into a bike shop, and there it is.
Oh, way.
Yes, the exact bike he wrote down on his piece of paper that morning. But the price tag says 35 pounds, not 35.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting, because most people would say, wow, God got me within 10 pounds, I'll take it.
Oh, I would have just paid the 45.
Same, but not Joseph. He shows the shop owner his piece of paper and says, I prayed for this exact bike at dawn today. This is my destiny bike. Could you knock 10 pounds off?
The boldness is amazing.
The sheer audacity to look a British shop owner in the eye and negotiate a discount based on it being your dawn prayer destiny bike.
And it works. The owner gives him the discount.
That's incredible.
Joseph buys it for 35 pounds, rides it every single day for 4 years, and thanks God every single time he gets on it. And that experience really formed a mental and spiritual template for him. It gave him the confidence to look at this massive, complicated Toyota Century and think, maybe this could become that kind of vehicle in my life. Maybe this desire isn't just a distraction.
So we jump forward to December. It has been roughly 4 months since he first saw the Century listed online, and it's now a week before their house move is finally happening.
Time to make the call.
Exactly. He prays again, gathers his courage, and makes the call to the owner for the very first time.
And the car is still there. Over 4 months on the open market, and it hasn't sold.
Which is a miracle in itself.
It is. But the owner reveals a plot twist that completely reframes how we usually think about waiting and patience.
Okay, what happened?
The owner casually mentions that he had just finished a major front suspension repair on the car a few days earlier, and the parts required for that repair were directly imported from Japan.
Wait, if Joseph had called in August or September or October, he would have bought a car with a failing front suspension.
Exactly. Think of this delay, like an invisible backstage crew at a theater.
Oh, I like that.
Joseph felt like he was just sitting in the audience for 4 months, staring at a closed curtain, waiting for his moving date so the show could begin.
Right, just waiting around.
But behind the curtain, God was the backstage crew, quietly ensuring that complex mechanical parts were being sourced in Tokyo, put on a cargo ship, brought through UK customs, and meticulously installed by a mechanic.
Wow.
The stage was being perfectly set so that when the curtain finally rose, the car would be flawlessly ready for his family. The delay wasn't a denial, it was an active period of preparation.
That completely flips the script on how we view the frustrations of waiting.
Doesn't it?
So often we think a delay means the universe is just saying no, but here the delay was literally the physical time required for an international supply chain to rebuild a luxury suspension system.
It's so tangible. And then, the Monday after they finally move into the new house, Joseph goes to buy the car.
Does he negotiate again?
Well, he still does his due diligence first. He visits the garage where the repairs were done, gets a fully objective evaluation from the mechanic who confirms the car is in pristine condition. Smart. And then, channeling that exact same Cambridge bike energy, he negotiates 100 pounds off the asking price and signs the paperwork for $12,900.
The acquisition of the car is a great story on its own. But, you know, the true peak of this narrative, the real reason we are talking about this today, is how Joseph takes this physical object and completely flips the script on why someone buys a luxury vehicle in the first place.
Yeah, this is the best part. He is driving it home on the highway, and he writes that it is truly the best car he has ever driven.
I can imagine.
And during that drive, he actually passes a Lamborghini. And he has this quiet, genuine thought where he says, my car is way better.
So what does this all mean? Let's dig into the psychology of that moment.
Yeah, let's look at the contrast.
Because a Lamborghini and a Toyota Century are both pinnacle engineering achievements, but their philosophies are diametrically opposed.
Completely opposite.
A Lamborghini is the ultimate status symbol for the driver. It is loud, it's aggressively styled, and honestly, it's physically uncomfortable. Its entire purpose is to force everyone on the sidewalk to look at the person behind the wheel and acknowledge their wealth.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, The Toyota Century is the exact inverse.
How so?
It is entirely silent. It blends into traffic. It isn't a tool to elevate the driver's ego. It is a tool designed exclusively to elevate the passengers.
Ah, I see.
In Japan, the person driving the Century is traditionally a chauffeur. The owner of the car is the one sitting in the backseat reading the newspaper, completely insulated from the harshness of the outside world.
And that contrast triggers a profound realization for Joseph as he drives home. He starts reflecting on his current season of life.
The chauffeur season.
Exactly. As a father of 3 young kids who go to school far from their new house, the next few years of his life are essentially going to be a season of serving as their personal chauffeur.
It's a lot of driving.
It is. And he thinks back to his own childhood and the grace his parents showed him by tirelessly driving him around. It hits him deeply. He decides he doesn't want to just drag his kids to school. He wants to give them the ultimate chauffeur experience in this supreme chauffeur car.
He is literally taking a vehicle designed to transport the Prime Minister, and he is deploying it for the daily school run.
So for anyone listening who has ever done the morning school run, you know the drill. It is usually rushed, chaotic, and stressful. Everyone is yelling about lost shoes.
Yep, every morning.
But imagine transforming that daily grind into an actual VIP chauffeur service. That first morning, he loads all 3 of his kids into the back of the Century.
Must have been quite the scene.
And remember that V12 engine and the obsessive elimination of noise, vibration, and harshness? The ride is so incredibly smooth that Joseph describes it as floating on clouds.
Oh, man.
His kids are just sitting in the back, looking around this massive cabin, exclaiming, "Woo!" in absolute amazement.
And this is where Joseph does something extraordinary. He gives them a speech that completely reframes the concept of self-esteem.
This part is so moving.
It really is. We live in a culture that ties self-worth to outward displays of wealth, like the Lamborghini we mentioned earlier. But Joseph decouples their self-esteem entirely from worldly status and anchors it firmly in divine worth.
He turns to them in the rearview mirror and he says, "Kids, this car was built with Japan's national pride on the line, designed only for the highest VIPs. But you are children of God, who created the universe and all things by his word. You are far more precious and valuable than that."
What a message to hear before school.
Right. He goes on and says, "That's why Daddy bought this car. From now on, go to school with a confident self-esteem that says, I am a child of God."
The emotional resonance of that moment is just staggering.
It really is.
He is using this masterpiece of engineering not to show off his own financial success to his new neighbors, but as a tangible, daily, physical object lesson for his children about their inherent, undeniable value.
And they get it. Their eyes sparkle. They thank him. They're completely touched by the gesture. And Joseph himself actually gets teary-eyed just experiencing their reaction.
It's beautiful because he takes a piece of machinery and turns it into a daily blessing.
Yeah.
He actually closes his blog post with a prayer of gratitude. He asks for safe maintenance. Again, acknowledging the practical reality of owning an imported car so they can build family memories for years to come.
It's not about the status anymore.
Not at all. He wants to ride in it every day, not to feel superior to other drivers, but to remember that grace and to give thanks.
It is a brilliant reminder that the mundane acts of serving our families, the daily commutes, the endless errands, the school runs, they don't have to be just chores we endure.
They really don't.
They can be infused with profound meaning if we approach them with the right perspective. Joseph basically elevated a chore into an act of supreme service.
It is an incredible journey.
It is. We started inside an obsessive Japanese engineering factory focused on eliminating every single microscopic vibration from a V12 engine. Right. And we ended up on a rainy UK school run where a father is instilling eternal worth into his kids' hearts. It really makes you rethink the invisible luxuries in your own life and the ways we measure value.
And the ways we let practicality sometimes dictate our happiness.
Exactly. Which brings a crucial question to mind for you, our listener, to ponder today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked earlier about Joseph's guiding philosophy that reasonableness is the thief of joy. We all have our spreadsheets, our logical boundaries, our incredibly practical reasons for why we shouldn't do something out of the ordinary.
We all do it.
So here is a challenge to take with you. If strict reasonableness really does steal our joy, what is one strictly unreasonable or extravagant choice you could make today?
Oh, I love this.
Not out of selfishness and not to buy a metaphorical Lamborghini to show off to the world, but what unreasonable choice could you make to transform a completely mundane chore into an unforgettable, invisible expression of love for someone else.
That is a wonderful challenge to leave with.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We will catch you next time.